Hey there, welcome back for another crop talk with Karston. This week's topic, we're going to look at spring acreage reporting date and some tips and reminders on how to navigate the acreage reporting date. With spring acreage reporting right around the corner, let's just take a look at some tips and reminders to ensure that you're covered correctly. Quick disclosure here. Just want to let you know that these are designed to be quick videos, so it's not going to cover all aspects of the policy. Make sure you take a look at your policy and confer with your agent so that you're aware of everything that's relevant to you. So taking a look at spring acreage reporting at a glance, the deadline for most all crops in our area is July 15th. So it's really important for you to get your information in and signed prior to the deadline. The reason why it's extremely beneficial is first off, it allows your agent time to get it entered. And by doing that, the biggest benefit is that it allows you time to get a schedule of insurance to you. So that way you can review it and make sure all of the information that was entered in correctly. And then also if you're in enterprise units, let's say you're in enterprise by type, it allows you to have some extra options in case of the fact, let's say you're in enterprise by type and you only seed spring wheat in one section, so you don't qualify for enterprise by type. Knowing that before the deadline, you have some extra options as opposed to knowing that after the deadline. And then also it's just beneficial on the crop hail side to where your agent already has those acres and all the information readily available so that you quote it out or you have it ready for you in case you want to put on hail insurance with maybe a 2-hour binder or whatever it may be. So let's take a look at some acreage reports, how it looks, and some tips as how to review the acreage report and the schedule of insurance to make sure your information is entered correctly. So here's an example of an RCIS map-based acreage report. Each carrier is going to have it look a little different, or if you're not used to map-based acreage reports, it might look a little bit different. But for this example, you can see the full farm view of your operation, and then you can go into it. And then for it being a spring acreage report, you might already have some acres already attached to the policy. So it might show some, in this example, the green box is winter wheat acres and the other boxes are undesignated, showing that there's no acres attached to those fields. So if you're filling it out, you'll want to fill out some all of the information needed so that you're accurately covered, so that you have the crop, so wheat, crop type, spring wheat. So in this example, the SW stands for spring wheat. The practice type, so you can see one example has it being CC, the other example having it being summer follow. Make sure you mark that down, or your agent does. And then have the plant date, your share amount. So for one example, it's 100% share. That's all you need. Whereas the other example, it's a 2/3 share and then a third with I am shareholder. Make sure you mark down what your share is and then who the other shareholder is. And then just make sure that the acres are correct. So let's say this 160.29 acre field, something changed with it and it's actually 170 acres. You want to make sure that that is accurately portrayed on your policy. So if you're somebody that maybe just drops off your FSA maps to your agent and then maybe you meet with them later or they send you an acreage report to review, this is what it would look like after it is entered into your policy. So as you can see here, this 163.8 acre field is marked as spring wheat, summer follow, 100% share, and then it has that plant date of 4/24. So you want to make sure that all of that information is correct, so that when you sign that acreage report, it is showing correct information. Once it's all entered, at least my standard practice, kind of our agency standard practice, is to generate and send a map-based schedule of insurance to our insured so that they can look at it quickly or really thumb through it and make sure that their information, we entered it correctly. And human error is possible. We try to avoid it at all costs, but sometimes it happens, and if we can catch it in time, it sure makes it a lot easier. So this map-based schedule of insurance will show, you can look at it and say, well, I think I have about 300 acres of wheat in Cascade County. You could look at this and say, well, this says 296.22 acres of wheat in Cascade County. That seems correct. It'll show your total liability for each crop. And then if you had ECO, SEO, it would show you the total liability for that. And then it'll also show the base premium and then what your total premium is after the subsidy is taken into account. So once you look into it and dive into the schedule of insurance, you can see, for example, this 163.8 acre field was entered in as wheat, spring wheat, summer fallow, 100% share, and 163.8 acres. If for whatever reason any of that information was incorrect, let's say instead of spring wheat, it's Durham, or instead of summer fallow, it's CC, or one area that sometimes gets overlooked is, let's say maybe it's not 100% share, you have a share, a partial crop share with it with somebody else, you would want to get that remedied and make sure that it is accurate before the deadline. So let's say if you do find that there is a discrepancy on your schedule of insurance or in your acreage report, there's kind of look at it two different ways. If you find it before the deadline of July 15th, you get that information in early, you review it, and you find it before July 15th, it's pretty easy to fix. Just get the correct information to your agent, get it entered in, have you both sign it and submit it, and it's as easy as that. If you find it after July 15th, that's when things get really difficult. What you would have to do if it's after the deadline would be submit a revision request. And in order to do that, you'll fill out the information correctly, mark it as revision, you and your agent sign, and that gets sent to the AIP or the carrier. And then they basically will review that request and either accept or deny the revision. And obviously each case is different. And so not to just say it's one way or the other, but typically it's a lot easier for them to accept revisions that are going down in liability or coverage. So for example, if you had marked as 100% share, but you're actually 50% share, you're going down in coverage. So it's a little bit easier for them to accept that revision. But if you look at it, the other way, if it was marked at 50% share and you're actually 100% share, well, you're adding coverage, adding liability. So it's much more difficult for them to be able to accept that. It's still possible, but it is more difficult. So ultimately, the biggest thing to take away from this video is to get your information early so that way you have time to review it. You and your agent have time to review it so that it is as accurate as humanly possible. Some other information that is beneficial to get in before the deadline would be any contracts that you have. So let's say you have a malt barley contract or mustard contract or organic contracts. It's important to get that in early so that way it can be reviewed and entered in for your contract price. So that, let's say if underwriting reviews it and there's something wrong with the contract and they aren't going to accept that contract for you to be able to get the contract price on your coverage, you could maybe go back to the contract provider and get a better contract that they will accept, so that way you can get the contract price in your coverage. Getting your organic certifications in prior to the deadline is a good practice. And then ultimately just check with your agent, make sure that you are covered on all bases. And everybody's different. Everybody has different requirements. So just check with your agent, make sure you have everything taken care of. Ultimately, please let us know if you have any questions. We want these videos to be designed for you guys, designed to help educate you so you're better aware of all these different aspects of the crop insurance side of things. And then with that being said, we want these videos to be for you. So if there's any topics that you want us to talk about, please reach out. We'd be happy to do so. So we hope you follow along, and thanks for being with us today.